everybody. I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the app for Baseball Highlights 2045. Baseball Highlights 2045 is a game that is about baseball to some degree, but even if you don't like baseball, you might enjoy it. I gave the game a ranking of an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. It is a game in which you have a deck of cards, and you're kind of playing almost a game of war against your opponent as you play cards that give you base hits, but also stop your opponents back and forth. But you're playing a series of games, and in between those games, you're adding more cards to your deck, and you can play through series of games. It's very, very enjoyable, and it's my favorite game, I think, that Mike Fitzgerald has made. So let's talk about the app. So the first thing is, when you turn this app on, you might think, and I think you'd be justified, that the app was made before the iPad even existed, because it looks like it was made in the 90s, maybe the 80s. And that's harsh sounding, but it really is true. Now, that being said, the ease of use, I will give it a 4 out of 5. There's a few things like dragging cards in the corner sometimes didn't work right. But for the most part, I play a card, it did exactly what it did. It shifts screens back and forth between me and my opponent, and I could press a button to switch them back to. And I didn't find that to be problematic. So a functional game exists here. Now, graphics. I'm giving this a 1 out of 5. These are some of the worst I've seen. Now, to be fair, the original game's graphics weren't great. Eagle Griffin didn't do a really good job on the production values of Baseball Highlights, but I didn't mind so much. But it's like they regressed here. As I said, not just the graphics are bad, but the sound effects. Now, maybe some people will say, oh, it's charming to hear really annoying sound effects that sound, again, like they come from a game made in the 80s.
Single.
Like they almost sound, some of them, like they're coming through a Nintendo speaker, and I don't get that at all. The problem is you hear these sounds over and over and over and over and over again. Yes, you can turn the sound off. But why not have a game with a pleasant sound experience? Baseball, it could have a nice roar of the crowd in the background and that crack of the bat, which is really the crack of a bat in a baseball game is one of those, or in baseball itself, is just a sound that it's so evocative, and they didn't include that here. It just sounded like a bunch of little files that were played at various points. So no points for Pizazz here either. Again, the whole thing just, it's almost embarrassing, I feel, when I played this. I like the game a lot, but that's just very problematic. So when you take the bad graphics and the bad sound, and you add that to a really good game, it's kind of a mishmash in there, right? It's a mix. And so for problems with it, obviously the graphics and sound effects, but there's some animations. You can go and turn them off. Sometimes they're too fast. Sometimes they're too slow. Sometimes I'm not sure what exactly happened. And it also doesn't do a really good job at giving you kind of how to play the game. It kind of throws you in. I know how to play the game. I just felt like the game assumes you know some stuff, the graphics, and it just comes together to be a bit of a mess. Solo versus multiplayer. I've not tried a multiplayer. I've only played it solo, but I will give it that. I don't know that the solo app here is much different than the multiplayer app. But, I mean, the multiplayer game, but the solo experience versus the solo board game, I guess I would play it on the app, but I might even still pull the cards out just because, again, I dislike the graphics and sound that much. It's not bad. It plays fairly quickly, and I could get through it. But does this replace a physical game? Not even close. I was so annoyed by just how trashy this app looks that it's still on my iPad because I paid for the app, and I hate to delete something I paid for. I just didn't like it. It just didn't come together in a very good fashion, and I'd rather just pull out the physical game and play that. The app could do so many things. Like, what's an app for? Like, it could keep stats of how many singles you've done, how many home runs, things like that, which an app can easily do and add, and it gives an enhancement. There's nothing here. Like, there's no reason to get this over the board game. And so you're taking away my tactile feeling and everything. Why would I get this? So overall, I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. That's harsh. I thought about it for a long time, but I don't want to encourage apps like this being made. You can say, Tom, this app came out a couple years ago. That's true, but I have many apps on my iPad that have come out years ago that look much better. This is one of the worst board game apps I've played, basically just in how it looks and feels. And even though it's very functional, to me an app needs to be more than that to be fun. I still think Baseball Highlights is a great, wonderful game, and I highly recommend people getting it, but just do it in person.